Didn't get any movement on if the Trump team was going to be filing any motion against the FBI, and we kind of ended up getting too much news from yesterday, so hopefully at least, this one isn't out of date by the time that I put it out. There was a bunch of good information that was already in the first video that came out yesterday, so what we're going to be doing now is still waiting on the affidavit, and we're still going to be waiting on redactions and shit like that, but there was an official ruling that came down yesterday. Didn't know that this one was going to be happening, but at least we're going to be talking about it right now. That and the fact that we're actually going to be taking some W's here. It's wild to think about, and it mostly just comes back to the fact that, this politicized Department of Justice and the failure of the Biden administration continues to be so amazing that somebody has to check them, and then it just ends up being a net positive for the population at large. Who could have thunk it? Anyways, judge, government hasn't proven Trump's search warrant affidavit should remain sealed. Yeah, because they were still complaining and bitching and whining that, we need to keep this affidavit sealed because it's an ongoing investigation and Trump's the bad guy. And even, the Epstein-linked judge, okay? And there's also a hell of a lot of misinformation that was permeating social media saying, well, Trump appointed Bruce Reinholt. The way that these circuit court judges get appointed is through election, you fucking retards that are out there. So again, just a wonderful display of ignorance out there, okay? See something on Twitter, run with it. How fucking dim can some of you people be? Anyways, U.S. government officials have not presented sufficient evidence to keep a key document related to the search warrant executed at former President Donald Trump's house shielded from the public. A federal judge ruled on August 22nd, yesterday. U.S. officials have claimed that an affidavit which convinced U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinholt to approve the warrant needs extensive redactions to protect FBI agents and witnesses along with the ongoing investigation into Trump. The redactions would leave very little, nothing of substance. Jay Bratch, chief of the Department of Justice Counterintelligence and Export Control Section. Sorry, what? Okay, I know what the counterintelligence stuff is, okay, because obviously they think that they're dealing with classified documents, okay, an export control section. I might be a little bit stupid on that one, but that would lead me to believe that maybe they believe, according to the affiant, who we're never going to know the name of, and even if you do get a redacted version or whenever that ends up dropping, we got a little bit more of a concrete timeline on this one. They think that he was going to be selling secrets abroad, because that's what I would think by export, but oh boy, these fucking people, dude. The government has met its burden of showing its interest outweighs public access to unsealing the entire affidavit, Reinholt said in the new ruling. That's fair, okay? Obviously, there's going to be some sensitive information, okay, about the ongoing investigation, and by keeping the person who signed or testified for the affidavit, you need to keep them quiet, blah, 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 all that shit. That makes sense, okay? That's pretty standard practice when it comes to this stuff. But the government has not yet sufficiently argued, that is a little bit preposterous, argued that portions of the document should not be made public. I cannot say at this point that partial redactions will be so extensive that they will result in meaningless disclosure, but I may ultimately reach the conclusion after hearing further from the government, he said. Yeah, so he's just waiting. He's telling the government, give me an excuse to block everything out, to just come up with a better argument so at least it looks better in the legal papers that might eventually get kicked up to the Supreme Court of Florida, or if not SCOTUS in general. Still, given the intense public and historical interest in this unprecedented search of a former president's residence, if you take a look at all of the different parties and the movement to this search warrant, it's extensive. It is very extensive. People want to know about this because it is very, I hate to be redundant, and I hate to use the same term over and over again, an unprecedented search. Okay, this is obvious politicization, the vagueness of the charges that are up there. Again, they're trying to catch Trump on something. Can they make it stick? Well, we'll know a little bit more when the affidavit eventually does come out in some form or fashion. Still, he added, I therefore reject the government's arguments that the present record justifies keeping the entire affidavit under seal. Reinholt ordered the government to file additional evidence supporting keeping the entire document under seal, along with proposed redactions to the affidavit, which is a document authored by the FBI agent that outlines why the government believes it needed a warrant, blasey. We got the full ruling from the judge here today. It's 13 pages long. I'm not going to read through all of it. Mostly basically getting down to the ruling, he was discussing the different communications that were going back and forth. But the most important thing is, I therefore reject the government's argument that the present record justifies keeping the entire affidavit under seal. In its response, the government asked that I give it an opportunity to propose redactions. If I declined to seal the entire affidavit, I granted that request and gave the government a deadline of noon on Thursday. This Thursday, okay? August 25th, 2022, Eastern Central Florida time. I don't know. Number 74 accordingly is hereby ordered that that be the deadline. The government shall file under seal a submission addressing possible redactions and providing any additional evidence or legal argument that the government believes relevant to the pending motion to unseal. Done and ordered, blasey blasey. So now it's official. So they better come up with a better argument or just show up with redactions. They'll probably do both. So yeah, breaking it down, okay, just in case you don't want to link through and you don't want to read everything yourself, Epoch Times has it broken down real nice and tidy. The public has a right to view the judicial proceedings and records based on the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment and common law, but the right is not absolute. Yeah, obviously for the reasons that area outlined. The DOJ lawyers have said that the government's investigations and consequences for individuals who are cited in the affidavit outweigh any public right to access. You're on a need-to-know basis, public, and even though you pay for our salaries, you don't need to know about this. Okay, get rid of some of the names that are in there. Would you like to go through the rest of it? No, that would hurt too much. Lawyers for Trump have not formally asked the judge to release the affidavit. The former president and his counsel have said public statements that the document should be released with no redactions, and they're getting ready for filing their own lawsuit, as we seen yesterday. Right. Reinhart's thinking, going over this, Reinhart said he gives great weight to the significant likelihood that unsealing the affidavit would harm legitimate privacy interests by directly disclosing the identity of the affiant, as well as providing evidence that could be used to identify witnesses. Which could lead the investigation being impeded through witness intimidation. That's fair. That's a reasonable ruling. So even if you're in your feelings when it comes to this judge, okay, with all of the outlying circumstances, digging up old Facebook posts, looking at you, Posobiec, who's saying, oh, he's clearly got a bias against Trump, that ruling's pretty fair. We'll just have to take a look at the redactions to see how fair everything was at the end of the day. He also agreed with DOJ officials that the affiant discloses the source and methods that are being used in the investigations and that the law requires the information to be shielded from the public. Yeah. And he also said that he was considering how the affidavit discusses details of Mar-a-Lago, a location protected by U.S. Secret Service agents because a former president resides there. Of course, this is just all standard procedure shit. All three factors weigh in favor of keeping the affidavit sealed, the judge said. The only other factor Reinhart cited as having great weight was how the warrant is a significant concern to the public. Certainly, unsealing the affidavit would promote public understanding of historical significant events. The factor weighs in favor of disclosure. That's pretty significant, all things considered. So we'll see what the movement on this is at the worst on Thursday, if not before that, unless we have some sort of an intervention by the Trump team, them saying, no, just kick open the doors. We want to know everything that's in there. You won't get that far, but, hey, we'll be seeing something when it comes to this. Again, I was thinking probably somewhere about mid-September. Hey, might even get it by Labor Day. That'll be nice. Anyways, so like I said, there's another big win that's on the horizon. Okay, it didn't come from Uncle Joe. Okay, it came from some judges. Okay, again, some judges with some decent rulings. Amazing. I don't know how this got to their attention or not, but it's just a big win for everybody involved. Judge permanently blocks Biden oil and gas leasing pause in 13 states. Open up the gas line, boys. The pipelines are fucking rolling again with some of that Texas tea, my guys. A federal judge issued a permanent injunction on August 18th against the Biden administration's pause of new oil and gas leasings in federal lands. The injunction applies to 13 states that sued the Biden administration over the moratorium in March of 2021. Real timely fucking decision we got here. 18 months no, I'm sorry, I need to get that a little bit more specific. 17 months, sorry. Just a shade under, including Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. Where are the Dakotas in that one? Because that would be pretty important. And again, then you could file, maybe they filed another complaint in regards to the Keystone XL pipeline specifically, because it's nice that Montana's on there, but you also need to loop in North Dakota in order to get that bad boy kicking once again, if you know geography. But for the rest of those states, that's just good business. And again, Alaska has all of the natural resources, so you need to extract them somehow. That'd be great. Terry Doherty, U.S. District Judge for the Western District of Louisiana, ruled that the White House overreached with the ban. Ooh, I would love to see the rationale on this. Okay. President Joe Biden signed the executive order 14,008. That's also how many days Joe Biden's been alive. I thought that would have been a gross over-exaggeration, but that's only about 38 years. That's not even as long as Joe Biden's been a public officiant, okay, a servant to the public. Who, again, if you want to put this in the proper context of shit, he's been around in Washington, D.C. for near on 50 fucking years. And now the judge is redacting something that is specifically hurting American citizens. That's just fucking wild in and of itself. Okay, he was supposed to be a president for all Americans, but you immediately put a ban on federal drilling because when you were growing up in the 1800s, there was an oil slick theoretically on your windshield. I don't know how you remember that, but then you can't remember who just recently gave you the handoff to get to the podium. It's fucking wild. The order didn't cancel existing leases on federal lands and offshore waters. Leases on private lands also weren't affected. But if you know anything about drilling and how pipelines work, you gotta cross through, in Canada they're called crown lands, but you gotta pass through federal lands in order to connect fucking anything, so it's worthless. You can go drill, but if you can't extract it and move the oil and natural gas anywhere, it's fucking worthless. 13 states, led by Louisiana, sued the Biden administration, saying the lease ban violated the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, okay, which gives offshore oil and gas leases, and the Mineral Leasing Act, which governs offshore land and leases on federal lands. Doherty issued a temporary injunction in the case in June. The injunction was overthrown by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on August 17th. Doherty's permanent injunction came a day after the Circuit Court's ruling. In the permanent injunction, Doherty ruled that the executive branch has no authority to change both laws. Yeah, no. Remember also how Joe Biden said that he wasn't going to rule like a tyrant like Trump was, right? Yeah, exactly. He wasn't going to rule by presidential edict, and then broke the record for the amount of executive orders that he signed in the first 2 days in office. Yeah, no, funny. I remember. Hopefully the voting population does when it comes to November of this year. Both statutes require government defendants agencies to sell oil and gas leases. The OCSLA has a 5-year plan in effect that requires eligible leases to be sold. Government defendants agencies have no authority to make significant revisions in the OCSLA 5-year plan without going through the procedure mandated by Congress. The MLA requires the DOI, Department of Industry? I'm not entirely sure about that. To hold lease sales where eligible lands are available at least quarterly. He wrote in the ruling, by stopping the process, the agencies are in effect amending 2 congressional statutes. Neither the OCSLA or the MLA gives the defendant or the government defendants agencies the authority to implement a stop of lease sales. Interior Department and the White House officials haven't responded to requests for comments by press time. Oh, fuck. There goes our green agenda. Even though if you take a look at the amount of emissions from natural gas, you're going to find it lacking. And that literally anything, okay, the mouse that I use, the keyboard that I type on, okay, the television that I'm using as a monitor, couldn't exist without the use of fossil fuels. You probably don't understand how integral drilling is when it comes to just everyday items. Plastic cannot exist without using natural resources, for fuck's sakes. But now, I guess temporarily we don't have to worry about that. Hopefully we can get some good rulings like this from some decent judges, okay? Watch me end up eating my words when we get that affidavit from the FBI back and it's just complete fucking black block of text. But no, at least with this one, hey man, oil and gas leases, they should be open. And now the people are going to be able to drill take a look at gas prices, okay? Mark this down in the old noggin, okay? As soon as gas prices start to drop, thanks to these new drilling projects that are just going to be allowed to happen, watch Joe take credit for that. And then magically, how all of a sudden the war in Ukraine and Russia just continues to fade more and more into the distance. Yeah, no, I'm not going to forget. Hopefully you don't either. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone. Here's what I get for thinking that we're not going to have any movement on this case until Thursday. Well, you know, late last night, early this morning, whatever coast you're on, it came out that Trump ended up filing a motion, not a lawsuit like it was originally reported, but there was a motion that was filed in order to keep all the documents away from the Department of Justice, at least for the time being. That seemed a little spurious and a little bit odd to begin with, and now we have the rationale on this, and we have the response from the judge, and, you know, just tack this on a little bit, because I got something else I want to talk about with the final video of the day. So, FBI agents visited Mar-a-Lago 2 months before the raid, said it all makes sense. Oh, okay, cool. So at the same time, was that the same time that they also told them that, yeah, you guys should probably install a padlock to make sure that all of your declassified information, you know, isn't tampered with? And then the Trump administration, well, not the Trump administration, but everybody down there at Mar-a-Lago is like, yeah, no, cool, we can do that. Yeah, is that the same time? Oh, okay, cool. Anyways, a recent legal motion from former President Donald Trump on Monday said that the 45th president invited FBI agents to come to his home in Mar-a-Lago 2 months before the raid on his property. The filing said, were greeted by Trump's lawyers when they arrived on June 3rd to retrieve documents. The agents were shown a basement storage room with boxes of documents and memorabilia from when Trump was president. Okay, so we had the Washington Post article from February. They've been working back and forth, the Trump team and the FBI or the National Archives, whoever we're talking with here, in order to, I don't know, fill in some gaps. Maybe there were some missing documents. Maybe there was something, okay? Somebody was concerned about something. That's what we know for sure, okay? And instead of just going through this in a timely fashion, the FBI just decided that it was time to kick down the door. FBI, open up, you know. Filing also claimed that after one FBI agent saw the storage room, they told Trump's team, thank you. We don't need to show us the storage room, but we appreciate it. Now it all makes sense. Okay, in the Mar-a-Lago storage room, there were boxes, many containing the clothing and personal items of Donald Trump and the First Lady. Oh, okay, cool. Is that why they had to go through the panty drawer of the First Lady, too, at the same time? Because the FBI did that. And again, these could just be fantastical words from this motion that got filed against the FBI, okay? It's a bit of an injunction, but we also know that all of the security footage is set to be released here very shortly, so we also got that to deal with. So I'd say that they're probably backing this stuff up as well. The complaint added as well. The Department of Justice official Jay Bratt asked the Trump team to secure the storage room, and the former president directed his staff to place a second lock on the door. I didn't know that was in there, but hey, I don't make stuff up. I just report it. Counsel for President Donald Trump then closed the interaction and advised the government officials that they should contact him with further needs on the matter. Trump's lawyers wrote, and the former president even personally greeted Bratt and FBI agents in Mar-a-Lago's dining area. Okay. So, now it gets even more interesting, a little more personal, I'd say. Before leaving the group, President Donald Trump's last words to Mr. Bratt were, get the fuck out and don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, because it's a very nice door, a very gold-plated door. It's got a nice little jewel handle, and that could be very painful if it hits you in the ass, you fucking fed. Anyways, whatever you need, just let us know, the motion said. Responsive documents were provided by FBI agents. Mr. Bratt asked to inspect the storage room. Counsel for the president advised the group that the president, Trump, had authorized him to take the group to that room. Trump's lawyers added the groups proceeded to the storage room, escorted by 2 Secret Service agents. The storage room contained boxes, many containing clothing, personal items for President Trump and the First Lady. Elsewhere in the complaint, Trump's lawyers asserted that more than 24 boxes of documents were taken by the FBI in the August 8th raid were covered by executive privilege. Yeah, no shit. And again, a president sitting while there can just do this and then they become declassified. Just saying. Motion demanded federal investigators stop looking into the material that was taken from Mar-a-Lago until a special master can be appointed to review the records. Immediately stop the review. So that's where we sit at this moment. And then just before I was about to hit record on this, making sure I wasn't completely out of date, we have the judge's ruling on this. Okay, the judge orders Trump to provide more evidence to support his new motion. Okay. And people are going to spin this, Reinhardt is corrupt, Epstein connections. It's like, okay, cool. He's substantiating a lot of this stuff. But again, like I said before, he's going to have the security footage, okay? He's going to be able to back up the claims in that motion. Just saying, okay? Because I'd imagine it's probably a lot of storage, and there's probably a lot of cameras that's around Mar-a-Lago. But that would be one of those days where you'd want to keep the tape on, just for certain, okay? So I'd imagine they'd be able to very easily, their security people will just have, what is that, June 2nd, June 4th, June 3rd, right here, got it all for you. And look at that, he's meeting with Jay Platt right there, or Jay Blatt, whatever. And then they're just taking a walk over there to that room where everything was kept. And then you can just go ahead and cross that up with the August 8th raid in the same time. And the FBI agents directly after showing up to Mar-a-Lago went directly to that room. Fucking weird how that happened. And why did somebody spend 45 minutes just going like this with little thong underwear? Fucking odd folks. Anyways, a federal judge on August 23rd ordered former President Donald Trump to provide more evidence in his bid to get the materials seized by the FBI. Trump filed a motion on Monday asking the court to appoint an independent party to separate privileged items from the collection taken from Mar-a-Lago, order the government to provide a more detailed inventory list, and to have any items outside the scope of the search warrant returned. The filing raised concern about Trump's constitutional rights being violated and said a special master, typically a retired judge, yes, an independent third party, theoretically, of course, should be appointed to ensure the government did not receive privileged materials. Because of how the Department of Justice and FBI have treated Trump, the department cannot be trusted to properly handle items. The filing also says, kind of makes sense, right? He's kind of made an enemy of the deep state. Just saying. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, on Tuesday, said she received the motion, but she wanted another filing that elaborated on the case. What's your justification here, bitch? To facilitate appropriate resolution. I didn't know. I thought that this would still be Reinhardt in this one. Anyways, to facilitate appropriate resolution on or before August 26th. Okay, so after the redactions are supposed to show up at Reinhardt's chambers. Interesting. Plaintiff shall file a supplement to the motion further elaborating on the following. The asserted basis of the exercise of the court's jurisdiction, whether legal, equitable, anomalous, or both, the framework applicable to the exercise of such jurisdiction, a precise relief sought, including any request for injunctive relief pending motion or resolution of the motion, the effect, if any, on the proceedings before Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinholt, and the status of the plaintiff's efforts to perfect service on defendant, Cannon said in the order. Yeah, this just sounded like it was probably an emergency filing. She just wants something a little bit more detailed. That all makes sense, but that's the latest development on this one. So instead of the false ending that we seen a couple of minutes ago, here's the proper one. Thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.